Okay, there we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm waiting all the people to join us. So hello, everybody, and welcome to this session of Edugo.AI webinars. Happy Friday for all of you, and thank you for finding the time for joining us today and to learn together with us a little bit more about LinkedIn and how to leverage its power for your language business. So I'm Nicole Carvelli, the company BD manager and Edugo.AI BD manager. I'm currently speaking from Italy. I'm Italian. And today with me, I'm excited to have Sam Rattling, who is an amazing LinkedIn expert. I am personally excited to have her here since when I started work for Edugo, I read her book about LinkedIn strategies. So it's a pleasure to have you here. And then, of course, we also have Edugo.AI founder and CEO Giuseppe Tomasello. So if this is not the first time that you are joining us, I'm sure that you have already seen both me and Giuseppe. So I'll ask our speakers to give a brief introduction of themselves. But first, please, guys, let us know where are you from, and if, for example, you are a freelance teacher or whether you have whether you work in a language school, so we can know a little bit more about you. So while you type your answer in the chat box, I would like to ask Sam to just give a brief introduction of yourself to our audience.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Hi, everyone. I am Sam Rattling. I am a LinkedIn expert and social selling strategist. I've been doing this for over 12 years now, and I have developed some strategies today that I'm going to share with you to help you to grow your language school and to generate more leads.
Fantastic. And Giuseppe, it's your turn.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nicole, for the kind introduction. And thank you so much, Sam, actually, to join us today. I appreciate a lot. As Nicole mentioned, I'm also a big fan of your work. And we applied actually many of your principles in your book, Inbound LinkedIn, that Nicole has right now, because I gave it to her when she joined. And we applied a lot of those techniques to grow our presence on LinkedIn. And so far, it's been working very well. So we have been able to, accumulate many leads, many people following in our personal page and company page. So I'm very excited about this session, and I'm really excited to learn more from Sam how she can adapt her strategies for the language learning context. So that's something that in the book is not covered because it's not very specific for this industry, but I'm very looking forward to learn about those very specific and targeted strategies for language learning industry. So my name is Giuseppe Tomasello. As you many of you already know, I'm the founder of the company, and I've been living many years in China, but recently I left China and now I am in Dubai. I started Edugo because I wanted to create a software for myself to learn Chinese at the beginning, and as to solve my own problem for learning a language. And so that's is a little bit of the origin story of the software. Now, after 5 years, we're helping some of the biggest language institutions around the world to digitalize their presence and to grow, to build their own online school and to grow online. So yeah, very looking forward to also interact with you at the end of Sam and my presentation, so we can have like a Q&A session and so we can have interactions. So that said, I'm very looking forward to hear what Sam can teach us today.
Many thanks both Sam and Giuseppe for this introduction. In fact, right now, I would like to briefly share with you the agenda and what we are gonna cover today. So if you can see my screen, so today we are going to talk about how to market and grow your language business on LinkedIn. And particularly, we are going to understand the importance of an effective LinkedIn profile. Then Sam is going to show us the 3 key activities that are critical to your LinkedIn success, and she's going to share some content ideas to generate leads for your language business. And then at the end, we are going to showcase our Edugo.AI platform and show you how you can move from awareness on LinkedIn to revenue. At the end, as Giuseppe then mentioned, we are going to have the moment for all the questions that you might have. So stay with us until the end, and yeah, that's all. So, well, I stop sharing my screen, and Sam, the floor is all yours.
Thanks very much, Nicole. I'm just going to share my screen, if that's okay. Just 1 second. Get this here. Okay, perfect. So can you see my screen okay, Nicole? Can you give me a thumbs up? Perfect, great. So as Nicole said, there will be a time for questions at the very end. So please hold your questions and I will get to them at the end of the presentation. So today is about leveraging LinkedIn and social selling to grow your language school. This is all about building your sales pipeline for this year and the future. You're going to need 3 things today. So you're going to need access to your smartphone, which I'm sure is not too far away from you. You'll also need access to LinkedIn, so either on the desktop or on your mobile phone, and a pen and paper or something to take notes on, because I'm going to share with you many, many things today that I hope you will find useful for your school. I know I did a brief introduction at the very beginning. I'm Sam Rattling. I have been doing this for a very long time. I'm also a mum. I have 3 beautiful children, Oscar, Maya, and Liliana, and I am the Chief Visionary Officer of the Pipeline 44 group. I found LinkedIn when I moved to the Netherlands in 2001. So I didn't find it in 2001. I moved to Holland in 2001, and LinkedIn was born in 2003. So it's one of the oldest platforms out there. It's pre-Facebook. And I was at a networking event and happened to be in the recruitment industry back then. And I've heard about this thing called LinkedIn. And in the early days, LinkedIn was very much about jobs and recruitment and candidates. And it still is to a certain extent today, but obviously it has evolved since that time. So I moved to Ireland in 2005, and I set up my own business. And that's when I really started to use LinkedIn to grow my own business. 2010, I was first ever asked to step on a stage and share my knowledge about this topic. And now I literally speak all over the world, online and offline, to share my knowledge around the world. These are my business partners, Chris Taylor and Nicholas Jones. And at Pipeline 44, we educate and train companies. And we also have an agency that does this on behalf of companies too. Over those 12 years, I've developed a system called, there's basically 8 social selling strategies. And all of those strategies are quite in-depth, and it's a methodology that I've developed over the last decade or so, which to date has generated over 125 million pounds, or probably about 35 million euros, or if you're in dollars, because we've got people from all over the world, $169 million. So this is about getting you real results. I'm not going to have time to go through every single part of the methodology today, but I have picked out the things that I feel will be most relevant for you as a language school or as a freelancer. As Nicole has already mentioned, the book, if you do like what you hear, I have a book called Linked Inbound. I'm also releasing a new book called Linked Outbound in June, and I have a podcast as well. So if you want to learn more after today from me, then feel free to access the book and or the podcast. Now let's do the first kind of activity of the day. So if you grab your smartphone, I'd like you to put your smartphone onto the camera mode, and I'm going to ask you to connect with me on LinkedIn, because you may have some questions after the session today, and I'm always sharing really valuable content. So I want you to be able to access all that content going forward. So just point your phone at the screen on camera mode onto that QR code, and you'll be able to access my LinkedIn profile. Just either click on follow, and if you want to add me as a connection, there'll be a little box that says more, and you'll be able to connect with me on LinkedIn that way. I will get to all of you after the session, if that's all right. I'll get to respond to all of you after the session. Now, this is quite a useful little tip, because I know many of you will be doing presentations, you'll be doing webinars like this. So I'm going to share with you how you can get your own LinkedIn QR code, just like the one that you see on screen. So if you go to the mobile app of LinkedIn, into your mobile app, and at the very top of the screen, you'll see that there is a search bar. If you click your cursor into the search bar, this, I'm going to call it a squiggly square, very technical term. A squiggly square is inside the search bar, and that's where you can find your own QR code. You can download it to your gallery, and you can use it in presentations, in sales meetings, on a stage, anywhere that you are going to be speaking. I would recommend that you use your QR code. If you are going to be at a trade show, for example, I would have it on your stand. When we can go back to doing things like trade shows. So anytime you're in a position where you could collect a lot of new connections, then your QR code is a really great thing to use. You could put it on the bottom of your emails, etc. Now, I believe there are 10 things that stop people getting results from LinkedIn. And I've put them up on the screen, but I'd like you to use the chat box just to share with me which of these things resonate with you. Like, what is it you feel that's stopping you from getting results from LinkedIn? Is it lack of time? Is it you just don't have a plan or a strategy? Like, what are the things that you are finding most difficult when it comes to LinkedIn? I'll give you a few seconds to type. All of the above. Thanks for being honest, Mark. All of the above. Yeah, it isn't common. It is very common. Some people just don't know what to post. Thank you, Stephen. Just don't know where to start. Just don't have a plan. Like, these are all things that are very common. So today I'm going to try and help you to debunk some of these myths, especially if you don't know where to start, or you just like, oh, help me, Sam. So Nicole, thank you. No response to messages. So some of you might be active on LinkedIn. You might be outreaching, prospecting, but you're just not getting the results that you want. So I'm going to spend some time today going through some of these things and helping you to gain some confidence, know what to post, and all of those kind of things. Now, before we get into the kind of the tactics, I'm going to give you some overriding fundamentals that you need to understand if you're going to get business from LinkedIn. So this is one of the most important slides in the whole presentation. So the V in this equation stands for visibility. You're not going to get business from LinkedIn unless you are visible. And that means having a profile that stands out, that really gets you found. It means putting content out on the newsfeed so that you're visible to your connections. It means engaging with the newsfeed as well so that you're building those relationships. So visibility is one of the most critical things when it comes to LinkedIn. If you are at the moment what I call a LinkedIn lurker, so you're one of the 95% of people that doesn't show up, that doesn't post content, that's just kind of, I've got a profile, but I'm a bit scared to do anything, then you need to, number one thing, get visible. The C in this equation stands for credibility. So once you've got visibility, you now need to build your credibility as a school or as an individual. So you need to be thinking about, how can I showcase why somebody should do business with me? What can I post? What can I put out there? What does my profile need to say that somebody looks at my school and says, yes, I want to work with this person or this school? So credibility is all about social proof. And it's all about putting yourself out there to be the go-to person in your marketplace. So only when you've got visibility and credibility will it lead you to the O, which is opportunity. Now, the opportunity might be a new client. It could be somebody that refers you lots of customers. It could be a new supplier. It could be anybody at all out there. It could be an opportunity like this, like I connected with Giorgio, Nicole and Giuseppe on LinkedIn, and now I'm here. And that was probably 18 months ago that we first connected. So visibility and credibility will lead you to different opportunities. The good news is that LinkedIn has a way to measure how well you're doing at this thing called social selling. Now, social selling is simply about building relationships and posting content and being visible and being credible and staying top of mind with the prospects that you could be looking to do business with. So I'm going to share with you something called a social selling index, or an SSI score. That's a social selling index. And I'm going to put mine on screen first, and then I'm going to give you a link so you can go and check your own score to see how you're currently doing. So this is what the SSI score looks like. It's called a social selling index. You have a score of 100 points, and you get an industry ranking, you'll see at the top, and a network ranking. Your industry ranking is you versus everybody else in your industry. Your network ranking is you versus everyone else that you're connected to. You'll see here there are 4 different components of your score. I'm going to go through those in just a moment. But first, I want you to go and find out what your score is. And don't worry what the score is, because I'm not expecting it to be super high. So let's all go have a look and see what our current scores are. I'll post the link in the chat box for you. If you go to linkedin.com /sales/SSI. Just pop that in the chat box for you. You'll be able to go and find out what your current score is. And if you're feeling brave, I would like you to share it in the chat box with everybody that's here. I'm expecting most of you, given what you said in the beginning, to be kind of between 30 and kind of 60. That would be probably where most of you are going to sit. If you're higher than that and you're quite active on LinkedIn, then you're still not getting results, there may be a few things that need to get tweaked. Thank you very much. 48, thanks, Alex. 74, nice, Tyler, good score. Let's see where everybody is at. Perfect. 49, thanks, Alessio. They're all coming in now. Yeah, most of you are kind of sitting around the halfway point, which is good. The good news is that the lower your score, the easier it is to score higher. So Mark, thank you, 34. So if you're sitting in the 30s and 40s, within about 90 days, you can get yourself up into the mid 70s. Okay, if you're already in the 60s and 70s, it's a little bit more difficult because it takes more time to move the needle. But if you are sitting in the 20s, 30s, 40s, just by doing a few simple things in today's session that I'm going to give you, you can start to really move the needle. Now, the score updates every 24 to 48 hours. So it's quite good as a gauge because you can see progress. You might not go from getting no business to getting lots of leads straight away, but you will start to see your score go up. The aim of the game here is to get to at least 75 as a score. That's your aim point. If you can aim for 75 plus, that's where the magic really starts to happen. Now, the 4 components of your score, the orange one is all to do with what's called establishing your professional brand. So this is to do with your content and your profile. Those are the 2 things that drive the orange score. So we'll come on to both of those things shortly, but your content and your profile will drive the orange score. The purple score is called Find the Right People. Now, this is all to do with how much you're building your network. So if you are proactively prospecting, reaching out to new contacts, adding lots of people into your network, then that score will be higher. If you're currently not doing that and you're just waiting on other people to connect with you and you don't have a plan or a strategy to build your network, then you're going to be missing an opportunity. The green score is to do with engagement. So this is all of your interaction with your network. So things like, do you like and comment on other people's posts? Do you interact with your own posts? Do you use LinkedIn to gain insights about different companies and people? Do you interact in groups, etc.? So there's lots of things that impact the green score, but primarily it's about engagement. And the final one, which is the blue score, most people score quite high in this area. It's about building relationships and building trust. So they're the 4 elements that make up your score. Each one of them is worth 25 points, and that's what gives you your overall score. Now, I want to talk about the 2 different types of leads on LinkedIn, because you can create leads inbound, which are the nicest ones. That's where somebody is messaging you saying, I would like to work with you. They're the best type of leads, but they take time to develop. It takes time to build your brand, to get yourself to a point where you're visible and credible, and you have lots of people coming towards you saying, I would like to do business with you. But they are the best type of leads, obviously. The ones that are more not necessarily difficult, but the ones that you need to proactively create are what are called the outbound leads. And you can get both types of leads on LinkedIn. So outbound is where you're proactively making a lead happen, and inbound is where somebody's coming to you because you attracted them towards you. So inbound and outbound leads are both possible on LinkedIn. One just takes longer than the other. You're in control of the outbound, you're not in control of the inbound. Now, I get messages every single day of the week. I get something like 3 to 5 inbound leads a day. In fact, I've just had 3 this afternoon drop into my inbox. So I don't have to look for clients, but it's taken me 10, 12 years to get there. So don't expect inbound leads to happen straight away. But if you're consistent with your activity and you build your personal brand and you build your school's brand, you can get to a point where you've got lots of inbound action happening. So it all starts with having a really, really effective LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to talk through your profile and the importance of having a really good profile, because there's no point in you spending time and energy on LinkedIn, posting content, prospecting, etc. if when somebody lands on your profile, it sucks and it looks rubbish and nobody wants to do business with you if your profile isn't effective. So I'm going to talk you through the different elements of a profile. And first off, to think about the things that make a profile stand out. So the first thing is you've really got to make sure that your profile speaks to what I call your ideal client. So understanding the industry sector that that client's in, the demographic, like the size of companies you want to attract, the job titles of the people that you want to do business with, and really thinking about where you want those people to be. Your ideal client needs to be able to land on your profile and your profile really speak to them. It also needs to communicate the pain points that you solve. So what are the problems and challenges that these potential customers have that you can solve for them? Does your profile communicate that to potential customer? It needs to build your credibility as an individual, but also build your credibility as a language school. So if you are an employee working for a larger school, it's not just about the school having a really good brand. It's about you also owning your own personal brand. And also you can get your school found in search results, including Google. So you can actually rank on search engines on page 1 if you optimize your profile in the right way. Your profile is like a mini website. So all of the keywords that you're using on your profile can help you to rank in search engines, as well as to come up high in search results on LinkedIn too. And the final thing is that it really compels your visitors to your profile to take action. Do they know what to say, where to go, how they can reach out to you from your LinkedIn profile? Are you giving them a compelling reason to actually contact you? Now, there are 20 different elements of a LinkedIn profile. This is when your profile becomes what's called all-star. So things like having a really strong header image behind your, the little rectangle behind there. If that's currently a gray box, you're missing an opportunity. Like you could put some images up there, you could put some branding up there, etc. Having a recent photograph is also key as well. And then the piece that goes underneath your name, which if you can see there, I've got kind of 3 different lines. If you've just got like director at language school name, or you've got freelancer at company name, you're not doing a really good job in terms of demonstrating how you help your clients. So you have 220 characters underneath your name to showcase how you help your customers and to include the right keywords in there. So if you are an English language school, for example, and your name of your school doesn't include that, you need to make sure that the word English language school is somewhere inside your headline up there. You can record a name pronunciation. I see there's quite a few different names on here inside the chat box. So you can actually on your mobile phone record a name pronunciation. That's what that audio thing there is. And also you can record a 30-second video, which is what's called your profile video. Again, you can do that within your mobile phone. So how many of you have got a nice 30-second welcome video on your profile? And how many of you are using things like audio to also bring your profile to life? You'll see on the mobile app, that's where you record your profile video, and that's where you record your name pronunciation. So little things like that, they're just hidden features that LinkedIn rolls out, but hardly anybody knows about them. So if you go visit my profile, you'll see there's a 30-second video of me inside a training room in Belfast from last month, with me talking about what I do, how I help companies, but also inviting people to connect with me and inviting people to look around my content. So not too salesy, just a nice friendly introduction video from you that demonstrates what it is that you do. I would possibly do it in multiple languages as well. Just a little tip as a language school, like if you speak multiple languages, I would do your intro video in a few different languages too. Now, there is a featured section on your LinkedIn profile that sits, if you're in creator mode, it sits at the top. If you're not in creator mode, it sits underneath your about section. So I would use the featured section on your profile to have links out to your website, to have recent articles, to have YouTube videos, case studies, customer testimonials. There's lots of different things you can use your featured section for. If you don't currently have a featured section, you'll need to go to the top of your profile and hit add profile section. and then you'll be able to add a featured section into your profile. This is where you can really build your credibility as a school. If you've been featured in the news, if you've had some PR, anything at all that builds credibility is where you need to add your featured section. Now, the next slide is quite wordy, but you don't need to read all the words. The next part of your profile is called your about section. So ignore what's on the screen, but you've got room to have kind of 6 or 7 different paragraphs that really showcase what you are about as an individual and what your school can offer to your customers. So think about how you could use your about section. I would always have like a contact section in there. You can see down on mine, it says ring the bell on my profile to get notified about my posts, message me on LinkedIn, email me here, or book a call. So that's the call to action on my profile if they want to learn more. And I use a lot of pain language in here. So in terms of why people come to me, around the pain points that they might have too. Now, question, if you were your ideal client, you don't have to answer this in the chat box, by the way, but if you were your dream customer and you're on this webinar with me, and they right now are looking at your LinkedIn profile, would you buy from your school today based on what your current LinkedIn profile looks like? And for most people, the answer to that question is no. And you may have some work to do after today's session to really kind of focus in on how you can improve your profile to make it more attractive to your ideal client. So let's talk now about creating those inbound and outbound leads, because that's what we all want, right? We all want more business. We all want more customers. So I'm going to give you 3 key activities that are things you can do on a consistent basis every day, every week on LinkedIn that are going to actually get you business on this platform. So the 3 steps are as follows, and then I'm going to dive into each one in more detail. So the first step to getting business on LinkedIn is to prospect. This is where you spend time outreaching to potential ideal clients and contacting people that you don't know to come into your network and you build a relationship with them. So that's prospecting, step number 1. Step number 2 is to engage. So this is where you're spending time engaging with the newsfeed, liking, commenting, but being quite intentional about your engagement activities. And the final thing is to post. So this is my little pep talk for you. So prospect, engage, and post. They are the 3 things that are going to get you success on this platform. So let's talk first about prospecting. The simple way to talk about prospecting is it's all about building your network. So this is the one that's going to directly impact the purple score on your SSI score. So this is about outreach. It's about finding and searching for those potential customers and actually going to look for potential ideal clients. Now, you can use lots of different search features on LinkedIn. There's lots of different techniques that you can use to go find people, but it's really about building your network and filling your, what I call your circle of influence with the right types of people. So LinkedIn works on 6 degrees of separation, that you can get to anybody in the world on 6 degrees of separation. But really the magic happens in your 1st degree and your 2nd degree network. So your 1st degree people are the people you're already connected with. That's an easy one. But the 2nd degree, that's where you've got connections of connections, and it's a lot more warmed up in 2nd degree. So if you're going to go prospecting, I always recommend prospecting in your 2nd degree network, because the more people that you have inside your circle of influence who are your ideal client, when you start to post content, when you start to get do some engagement, the more of those people are going to see your brand. So the more you have of your ideal target market inside your 1st degree network, the more opportunities you're going to create on LinkedIn. So a good number to be aiming for is a minimum 1,000 connections. Once you've got 1,000 connections plus, everything becomes a bit easier. Many people don't realize, though, that when you add one person to LinkedIn, you're not just adding one person. You're adding that person plus all of their connections are coming one step closer to you. So for those of you that have just added me today, you added Sam Rattling, plus I have 25,000 1st degree connections. So those connections that were at 3rd degree, so we became 1st degree connections today, and all of my connections just became your 2nd degree connections. And prior to today, they were outside of your network. They wouldn't have been people that would see you or would connect with you. But do you think there might be somebody in my 25,000 connections that could be a good client for you? Probably the chances are yes. So a lot of the time, your best customers will come from your second degree network. If Giorgio and I are commenting and liking on each other's posts, for example, then my network is going to see that Giorgio has done that. And Giorgio's network are going to see that I've done that. So when you start interacting with your network, it's your second and third degree people that quite often see your content. And many people don't realize the power of that second and third degree network. Now, there are far too many of these types of people on LinkedIn. Type yes in the chat box if you have had a very bad sales pitch in your inbox in the last 7 days. Anybody had a bad sales pitch in the last 7 days? Giorgio's had one today, brilliant. Yeah, most of you have. Huh? So this is how not to do LinkedIn. So you've got many examples every day, every week coming into your inbox of people just spamming, pitching, selling, and just going straight from, we don't know each other, but let's have a call and let me sell my products and services to you. That's clearly not the way to do LinkedIn. Now, if you are an arachnophobic, look away from the screen now because I'm about to put a spider on the screen. So what I'd prefer you to be is what I call a social selling spider. So this is where you build a network of all the right types of potential customers for your school, and you attract those people towards you by building your brand, by posting content, by building relationships. Now, it is possible to get responses from cold outreach, but there is a certain type of way to do it. Anybody I've put it on screen, but the average number of messages / sales prospecting messages that a decision maker gets every single day at the moment on LinkedIn is on average of 10, right? So that's 10 a day, that's 50 a week, that's 200 a month. So if you're going to get through to responses from potential decision makers, you've got to cut through all that noise and do things a bit differently. And the way that you do this is you stand out by doing things differently to everybody else. So observe the masses and do the opposite. And there are a couple of things and techniques that you can be using that will actually help you to get in front of the right types of people. One of the things that you can do to stand out from the crowd is to use some of the tools that are available inside your inbox. So for example, you could send a personalized video message to somebody that you want to get the attention of, instead of sending a written text thing that everybody else does. So you connect with somebody, and rather than sending them a text message, like a written message, you drop them a personalized video message that gets their attention and allows you to drive a response. If you're not comfortable with video, you could use the voice feature on the inbox as well. So in your mobile phone, you can send audio messages and you can send video messages, but nobody does it. So to cut through the noise and to stand out from the crowd, one of the best things you can do is do things differently. So video and voice are my suggestions, especially if you're looking to grab the attention of a potential prospect. Now, I believe that you can drive a response from a potential prospect in 2 messages. So you can send a first message, a second message, and start a beautiful relationship, business relationship. So this is about getting your message right. So the first message, when you're sending a message to somebody, is the invitation message. So this is to get somebody accepted into your network, and your target should be around half of everyone that you reach out to. Around 50% of them should say, yes, I will accept you. If your profile is good and your first message is written in the right way, you should get about 50% of people saying, yes, I'll accept. Now, there is a current restriction on LinkedIn of 100 invites a week. That is the maximum invitation number you can send. So if you're going to send out 50 or 100 messages in a week, that's how many you could expect to get back, around 50%. Now, the key to success when it comes to your first message is something called hyper-personalization. So this is where you spend some time looking at that person's profile and picking out a few things from their profile that you can see or read about that are quite specific to them. And when you reach out to them, you mention those things in your invitation. So you're not saying, hey, I want to connect with you because I want to sell something to you. You're saying, hey, Giuseppe, I noticed from your profile that we actually studied at the same university. I also noticed you've lived in a few different countries. I have too. And I saw that we've got over 50 mutual connections. Let's connect. So it's important that you personalize each and every invitation that you send out to increase the chance of that person accepting you. Now, on my profile, I have a few personal things, like I mentioned that I spend a lot of time in Portugal, that I've got 3 kids, and that I support West Ham, right? They're my 3 things that are on my profile. So when somebody connects with me and they mention any one of those 3 things, I know that they've taken the time to read my profile and to pick something out that's personal to me. And I'll always accept somebody that personalizes a connection request. Unfortunately, there are lots of automation tools and AI tools out there and bots that are spamming lots and lots of people trying to get shortcut things. Like, I don't recommend shortcutting anything. I recommend spending the time to actually look at someone's profile and make your invitation relevant to that person. The second message is designed to start a conversation with the decision maker. So if you're trying to get in with a particular company because you know that they buy a lot of language related services, then you want to try and get in with the decision maker. So find out the job titles of the people you need to speak to. And when you reach out to them, there's a specific formula that I tend to use, which works quite well. And you should expect a kind of 3 to 8% response rate with the right type of message. Now, all you're trying to do here is not create a sale and not create a lead. All you're trying to do is start a conversation. So when you're prospecting, don't think I have to do this to get business. Just think I need to build a relationship and start a conversation. So there are many different methods to doing this, but one of the most successful ones that we use is called the painkiller formula. And this is where when you do a follow-up message, there are 3 pain points that you mention. So pain, 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 and at the end of it, you add a killer question. And so I'll go back because it didn't come up. There you go. Pain, 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 and a killer question. So when I reach out to sales directors, I know what their 3 biggest pain points are. And I ask them a question which doesn't end in no, that's not a closed question, that allows me to start a conversation with them. So my killer question might be something like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your current sales strategy? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, or what percentage of revenue is coming from LinkedIn at the moment in your sales team? So I ask questions that start a conversation. And once I've got the person responding, now I can start to find out more and I can move it to a sales call. But pain, 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 killer question is quite a good format for a second message follow-up. So once you've got your prospecting underway, the next 2 things to focus on are engagement and posting. So engagement's one of those things that doesn't have to take a lot of time in a day. It could be a couple of minutes a day. But when you start doing this very intentionally with your network, you start to realize the power of this. So imagine if I was prospecting, somebody would be a dream customer for me. If I, before I went to reach out to them, actually spent some time liking on, commenting on their posts, looking at what they were posting, following their content, etc., and then went to reach out to them, I'm increasing the chance that they're going to accept me into their network. So engagement does this thing. It drives conversations, and engagement will start conversations on the newsfeed, but it will also start conversations in your inbox. If you just intentionally like and comment, and not just like great post or like really good article or whatever, but something quite insightful that drives a discussion, that puts your opinion onto their post, you will start more conversations. This is Nicholas Jones. He's the CEO of Pipeline 44. Nick is not a very strong poster. He doesn't do a lot of content, but what he does love to do is he does love to engage on the newsfeed with other people. So he has quite strong opinions on a lot of things. So he'll go to a post that's maybe already got quite a lot of reactions and quite a lot of comments, and he'll put his own opinion up onto someone else's newsfeed. So let's say this particular example, he responded to something that Bryony had posted, but instead of just having like a one-liner, he's actually put quite a long comment on that post, which then drove a lot of replies. And by doing this, he received 800 inbound connections just in the last 6 weeks. So he's out there commenting and giving opinions on other people's posts. He'll do it quite controversially sometimes. This is not a controversial example, but if he has a differing opinion to someone, he's not afraid to say it. And then he drives a lot of inbound connections, not leads, but connections by doing this strategy. So my question to you is, when was the last time that you left a meaningful comment on your ideal target market's content? We have a client, her name's Kate. She only works with CEOs of companies with 5 to 20 million turnover. She used this strategy recently. So she went to a profile. She found somebody that she wanted to do business with, quite a high profile CEO in the UK. In fact, someone she was a little bit scared to do this with, but she went on and she posted quite an insightful comment on his post. He was impressed with what she wrote, went to her profile, and then started a conversation with her in her inbox. That led to her having a couple of sales meetings. And off the back of that, she landed this CEO as a new client. So engagement is a really strong strategy, and it doesn't have to take much time per day, a few minutes a day whilst you're waiting for someone to show up on Zoom or whilst you're waiting for a meeting, etc. Really, really easy to do from your phone. So the final thing I want to focus on today is posting and content, because this is a really, really important part of the process. If you want business from LinkedIn, you've got to be visible and you need to be posting content regularly. Now, I recommend a minimum of 3 posts a week. Not every day, because that's a lot to try and take on, but as an absolute minimum, 3 times a week, posting content on the newsfeed. But if you're currently posting nothing, to go from nothing to 3 is quite a big leap. So start with 1 and then increase it to 2 and then increase it to 3. But post a consistency that you can maintain, because consistency pays off on this platform. Content's what makes you visible. It gives you that credibility and it keeps you top of mind with all of these potential ideal clients. So let's imagine you're, I don't know, adding 5 people a day into your network that could buy your products and services. And that's 25 a week, and that's 100 people in a month. When you connect with somebody for the next 7 days, they are going to see your content in their newsfeed. That's what the algorithm does. It says, look, you two have had a conversation here. Now we know that you're connected. You probably would be interested in each other's content. So if you're adding all these people and prospecting, and then you're not posting, you're missing a big opportunity to get your brand into their newsfeed. So this is how you stay top of mind. Now, bear in mind, most of the people that you reach out to are not going to be ready to buy from your language school today. You might happen to pick somebody on the right day at the right time who just happens to be in the market for buying language services. But most people are not going to be in the buying phase, like when you connect with them. However, content drip fed over time consistently will mean that when they are ready to buy language services, that they think of your school first, because you are the one that's been showing up in their newsfeed. And that's the power of content. That's what drives your inbound inquiries, is because you've stayed visible, you've built your credibility, they've got to know, like, and trust you over the time that you've been posting content. Every single post is like sowing a little seed in the mind of your potential prospects, so that when they are ready to buy, they think of your language school first. Now, there are about 20 different themes that I teach in terms of how you can leverage them for your school. I'm going to give you 4 because of the time factor that I think will be the best ones for a language school specifically. So the first one, no surprise, is going to be education. So you all have a lot of expertise and a lot of knowledge about your subject matter. So being out there and educating your network is a really, really good type of content theme that you can leverage to share with everybody in your network. Another one is social proof. So this is where you are sharing case studies, you're sharing stories, you're talking about the successes that you and your clients have had. And I know you can't always talk about the individuals that you're working with or the companies that you're working with, but you can describe them. You can talk about them in a way that allows you to showcase how you're out there helping as many businesses as possible. So social proof is the kind of post where if you get a nice gift from a client, you post about it. If you get a nice handwritten card or you receive a nice recommendation on LinkedIn, these are all things that are social proof that you and your school are good at what you do. Another one is your journey. So just pulling the curtain back a little bit on your journey in your language school, like your journey to get to where you are, the lessons you're learning on the way, things like that. They're really good types of posts to be creating content around. And the final one is documentary. So this is where you are documenting your journey, but not just like your personal journey, but the journey of the school as well. So things that are happening in the school, things that you've been up to, etc. You know, just post it. There is content everywhere. Like if you're struggling to post things, there is literally content everywhere. One of the easiest hacks I can give you for content is my 7-day hack. So take a look at your calendar or your diary for the last 7 days. We're on Friday today. Thank goodness it's Friday. I've had COVID all week, so I'm looking forward to a relaxing weekend. So look back over the last week, the last 7 days, and look at every single thing you've done in your diary in the last 7 days. So what business meetings have you done? What personal appointments have you been on? Like think about all of the things that you've done in the last week. Every single one of those appointments is a piece of content, because every single one of those things has a before, a during, and an after. So if you had a sales meeting with a potential customer that wants to buy all of your language services, that's a piece of content. You might not want to mention who the client is, but you can talk about the fact that you had a sales meeting with this type of industry and this type of company, and this is why they came to you. If you have been preparing lessons, or you've been working with students, for example, there are lots of different things that you can talk about over the last 7 days and create content around those things. And you might be thinking, well, who'd be interested in all that? But trust me, people are watching. People are watching your newsfeed all the time. And your potential customers of the future, every time you post something, they're taking note and they're looking and they're watching what you're doing. Now look forward to the next 7 days. What have you got on next week between now and next Friday? Think about all the things you've got coming up and how many of those could you create a piece of content about? What are you looking forward to next week? Create a piece of content around that. Another really good source of content can be notes that you've made over the years, or it could be your gallery, your photo gallery. Sometimes I'll just scroll through my photos from the last few months and I'll think, oh yeah, that's a decent photo, or that reminds me of this thing, and I can post about it. I wrote an article this morning about the 4 different types of leaders on LinkedIn, and are they dinosaurs, or are they doubters, or are they doers, and it literally came from inspiration from a notes that I took 4 years ago. I just found them on my computer this morning, and it was a comment from one of my clients about the fact that I was going into a room full of dinosaurs and doubters. I was like, oh, that's a good piece of content. So I wrote a whole article this morning just based on some notes that I found in my Apple Notes this morning. So content is literally everywhere, but people don't see it. So the more you create, the more consistent you are, the easier content becomes. To help you all, though, I am going to give you all 100 content ideas, because this is the thing I get all the time from people, is like, I just don't know what to post, Sam. So if you go to pipeline44.com/content-ideas, you'll be able to download 100 content ideas. It says for salespeople, but you can use them across the board. There'll be at least 60 in there that will be useful for a language school. So pipeline44.com/content ideas. Giorgio, would you mind popping that in the chat box for me, just while I'm talking, if that's all right? And we'll get you all a copy of that. pipeline44.com/content-ideas. Now, there's a few things about the LinkedIn algorithm that you need to know before you start creating these posts and creating all this content. The LinkedIn algorithm is quite specific, and every platform has different kind of nuances about their algorithm. So the first thing about the LinkedIn algorithm is that the content that will get the most visibility, the most views, the most impressions, the most reactions are posts that create a lot of what's called dwell time. So this is looking at how long has somebody stayed on this piece of content. So one of the things you're trying to do is you're trying to hook people into your content with a really strong headline, and to get people to click on that see more ... button. If you click on the see more ... button, you'll actually be the algorithm is being driven a bit crazy. So what you want to try and do is do a really strong headline and a hook so that people click on the see more. The longer the post is, the more time people are going to spend on it. If you're doing a video, the longer people stay watching it, the better the post performs. If you are creating a document post, which can be like a PowerPoint or a PDF, again, if that's 12 to 20 pages long, every time somebody clicks through a document post, the dwell time is strong. So the posts that will do well are the ones that keep people in the post for longer. LinkedIn also rewards what we call original content creators. So this is where you are not just resharing something else that someone else has written, but you are actually creating a piece of content from scratch. So there's no point in you like resharing something from your company page, because shares don't get very much traction at all. What you want to be doing is creating original content on the newsfeed. Another thing that people don't realize is that links to external sites away from LinkedIn will never get you good visibility on a post. So if you're creating a blog on your website and then you share that blog on the newsfeed, you're sending people away from LinkedIn. LinkedIn loves to keep people in LinkedIn because that's how they make their money. The longer people are in LinkedIn, the more ads they can show them, the more sponsored ads they can show them, etc. So if you are using a YouTube link, an external website link, a blog, anything that takes people away from LinkedIn, that's a big no-no. So you want to be ideally putting those links into the comments or not using links at all. So it's really important that you understand that, because if you're constantly sharing links, you won't get any visibility on posts that have lots of links. Now, there are 11 different types of content. There's soon to be a 12th one. I'm going to share with you what that is, because I think it's going to be quite good for language schools. So the first type of content is what we call a text-only post. So this is simply no images, no videos, no nothing. But if you spend some time creating a long text-only post, the dwell time on those is quite good. So you'll find your visibility on a text-only post will be quite high. You can then use images. So I love image posts. I think they're really strong, but ideally kind of 5 to 8 photos, like the more photos, the better, rather than just one. So image posts can be quite good, especially if you're hosting events or you've got students live in lessons, etc. Video will do quite well, but a lot of people are quite scared of video. So if you can get brave enough to do videos, then they will, the more you can get your face in the newsfeed, the better. Document posts, hardly anybody uses them, but they're really, really good. And I think for a language school that this is a good type of content. So it's where you create like a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation and you upload that document into the newsfeed. LinkedIn turns it into like the turning pages of a book, like a carousel. And I think they're not used enough, and the visibility on them is quite high. You can create them in Canva, you can create them in PowerPoint, but they're quite strong types of content. Polls, I'm sure you guys are sick to the back teeth of polls. They've been very prolific on LinkedIn over the last 6 to 12 months, but they're still getting quite a lot of traction. I tend to use polls to get opinion, and then I create posts based on the opinions. Don't be posting stupid polls like what flavor milkshake do you like, and do you like tea or coffee in the morning? Like they're just like, that's not, there's no point in doing those. But you could use polls to create opinion around a particular thing that you need help with. LinkedIn Live, I don't think has flown as much as it could have done. You only get access to LinkedIn Live if you're in what's called creator mode. So if you want access to LinkedIn Live, you can put creator mode on. You'll also get access to newsletters as well from LinkedIn. LinkedIn events are amazing. If you're doing events like this, you're running webinars or you're running anything to build your school, and you're using events to do that, then LinkedIn events is a not to be missed type of content. Articles are different to normal posts, but they're really good for building your credibility. So use the posts for visibility and use articles to build your credibility. And the final few, newsletters, again, they're amazing. I love newsletters. I've had them since late 2019. I was part of the beta test crew that had newsletters for many months. I love newsletters. Again, you can only get access to LinkedIn newsletters if you are on creator mode. So you need to switch to creator mode, and then you'll be able to access things like newsletters. They're phenomenal. The first time you send one out, it will go out to every single connection that you have, and you'll be able to build quite a strong subscriber base fairly quickly. Kudos is where you're giving kudos to somebody else in your network. It's quite a nice little type of post. And a milestone is just one of those things like anniversaries, job changes, etc. But the new one that's coming, which I think will be really strong for schools, is LinkedIn audio rooms. So for those of you that are familiar with Clubhouse, that was very big in the pandemic. Clubhouse is a social audio channel. LinkedIn is launching audio rooms onto its platform. It's in beta test mode at the moment. There are only about 3,000 people in the world that have the audio room feature right now, but expect within probably 6 months to 12 months for everybody to be accessing this feature. So you can host rooms, you can run live events, and audio rooms are coming to LinkedIn. Now, a lot of people think that LinkedIn has to take a lot of time. I personally share that, you don't need to spend much more than about 15 minutes a day on this platform. Prospecting a few people a day, maybe 5 people a day, doing some engagement, and then 3 times a week doing a post on LinkedIn. This is the challenge, is that everybody goes to LinkedIn and they get lost and they go down the LinkedIn rabbit hole because they spend so much time like, oh, this is interesting and this is interesting. And then 2 hours have passed and before you know it, you've literally like spent 2-3 hours and you're like, where did my life go? So 15 minutes a day, prospect, engage, post, and get the heck out of there and go do your other stuff you need to do, right? So this is about being very intentional with your time. My favorite quote from Bruce Lee: long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. There is no point in you running off from this webinar and getting all excited about LinkedIn and spending like the next 2 weeks like being very, very active and then it tailing off because you get busy again. Little and often always wins the race. So be consistent with your prospecting, be consistent with your engagement, and be consistent with your posting. Social selling is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't expect to go from nothing and no activity and no visibility to suddenly getting lots of business on LinkedIn. You need to give yourself time to apply these things I've shared with you, to get your profile set up correctly, to build up that SSI score, to get yourself consistently prospecting, engaging, and posting. And over time, you will start to see the results come. I'm Sam Rattling, and remember, if you're not LinkedIn, you're totally linked out, and that is the end of my session.
Great. So thank you so much, Sam, for this amazing presentation. While you were speaking, I also posted like in the chat the link to our YouTube channel so that in case all our audience would like to go back and check the recording and keep up also with the links that you shared, all the recording will be available. So now I would like to give the floor to Giuseppe to go inside the more practical part of the presentation so he can showcase the part of the Edugo.AI platform.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Sam. I learned a lot, and actually there was very useful or refreshing for a lot of ideas that I forgot since I read your book, and now I have to go back in my LinkedIn. So that's super useful for me as well. Sam gave us a lot of tools, very powerful tools that actually work in order to get traffic and to get attention from your target audience. But that is just like the top of the funnel, right? Like LinkedIn is a very powerful tool to attract and to generate awareness. But then actually, how do you convert those, all these awareness and leads you might get from LinkedIn into actually customers from your school? And as we're moving in the online world, having like a online presence for your language schools becomes very important. It's fundamental, actually. If you want to convert the users, you have to have like your website, or you have to have like your online presence. And so one thing that we learned over the years with Edugo is that the conversion from like social media, like LinkedIn, to your school has to happen in a very precise way in order to be able to convert those prospects into customers. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to show you like some practical example on how you can leverage Edugo technology to bring users from LinkedIn to your school and then transform those leads into customers. So Nicole, if you can help me with sharing your screen so we can actually very quickly, and then we will jump on the Q&A session. So very quickly, we're going to show a practical example on how to use Edugo technology. So this actually is our platform, and is customized with the Edugo logo, but usually it can be white labeled. So everything can be adapted to your branding of your school, and so you have your landing page. So what we're going to do now is just show you one example of a teacher that creates a course in the platform. So you can go in the platform, and here you can see that there is a course section. Let's say your target market is doctors that would like to improve their English, right? So you define your niche very precisely, and now you have on LinkedIn, you're reaching out to this audience. So what you can do in the platform is to create a course. So we call it medical English, for example. And here you can set up all the different parameters of your course, such as like the pricing and okay, let's put. Okay. Okay, in this case will be a free course, so it can be a lead magnet, and then you can set up also like the curriculum. Here, for example, you can add synchronous content, so you can have like content and also like video calls embedded in the same kind of structure of the course. And what you can do next is you can publish the course. That's great. So it takes very few minutes. And once the course is published, you will be able to share it. And so these are also can be part of the content. For example, as Sam said, like you can create a different kind of content that you can share on LinkedIn. One of the content, especially relevant for language businesses, is actually to educate your audience, because people will come to your school because they want to improve their proficiency in English, for example. Therefore, it's very important that you educate the audience. So what you can do, you can go on LinkedIn, and for example, once you have already approached the user, you can, for example, share in a DM, or you can create even like a post with some English lesson. So there are many different ways that you can share this kind of content on LinkedIn. And what the user can do is then very quickly from the link, get in your school. So the funnel is very short. From LinkedIn, you directly in one click gets to your school. You have built a very good presence online, and now the student is able to access to this content you create. So Nicole now is logging out because it was logged in as a teacher. Of course, we need to show the student side of the platform, because the platform has both sides, students and teacher. So now imagine now you're a student arriving in the landing page of your course, and here you can see already the curriculum of the course, of course. And the student already can access to some material that is being created by our technology. In this case, we're talking about medical expression. And the content is being gamified and is very interactive. So the student is already getting to the value. At Edugo, we always say like you need to minimize what's called the time to value, which means like from when the user is actually interested in your offer to when actually is getting the value of the offer has to be very short, because in the world of online learning, especially there is a lot of competition. And so if you are able to, here you have a gamified experience, or like it's kind of like the Duolingo experience with the, but instead of the owl, you have actually your teacher. Sorry, there is someone with the microphone open, so if you guys can close. Okay, sorry about that.
No, for Zoom. I want to take on this Zoom call.
If you can, okay, you muted. Okay, great. So sorry about the interruption. So we were actually saying that the student is already getting the value of the content. And then, of course, the exercises we're showing right now is just one kind. You can create many different kind of language-specific exercises and activities. And at the end, the student will be prompted to create an account in the platform. So you can just finish, and here the student is creating a profile, and this profile will go in your website. So now you're acquiring this user, right? Like creating an account, getting an email, you can set up getting the phone number, and so now is in your funnel, and then you can monetize the audience. So that's a very practical example on how you can actually like bring the traffic you get from LinkedIn in your language school and actually set up your very powerful online presence. We don't want to go too long on that because we already like are over 1 hour on the webinar, and so like We would like just to say, if you're interested in also like in maybe try out this technology, you can actually sign up for a waiting list that we have now for deploying the platform. And so like we're going to share with you the link. If you're interested, contact us and we can deploy actually like a platform that is customized with all the branding element of your school and of course the language that you guys are teaching. That said, I now would like to go to the Q&A session, which is my favorite part, so we can have more interaction. And so please feel free to ask any questions to Sam, or if you have any question also regarding Edugo, feel free to ask. And yeah, thank you so much.
Sam, I have a question. So I guess there are use cases where there are schools who have many employees, like teachers, but also marketing department. I think there are some of them here in this webinar, but also single teachers who have just one profile, or maybe there are two teachers. How would you advise, let's say, to a bigger schools who have like a marketing department, but also a teacher department and so on and so forth, to leverage LinkedIn to create awareness by posting content?
Thanks, Giorgio. Great question. So I believe it's the responsibility of every individual in an organization to do social selling, from the owner, the founder, the director, all the way through to teachers, to everybody in the organization. So it's really important that not only do you have a company page on LinkedIn, but that you also are focusing in on having everybody's LinkedIn profile that represents your school, like properly worked on. So I would take some ownership of that if you own the school, or if you are in the marketing department, that you almost are helping each person to create a profile that actually demonstrates and has the correct message. Because I should be able to go to the teacher's profile, to the CEO's profile, to the marketing person's profile, and be able to get the same message and consistent message from each one, from the header image to what's said in the profile, etc. So I believe that there should be some consistent brand message across the board, and that each of those individuals should know and understand their role when it comes to helping the school to generate awareness and to, you know, for them to be interacting with what the school's doing on LinkedIn.
Right, thank you very much.
Sorry. I had a question. By the way, that was an excellent webinar. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Mark.
And everybody. This is for Sam and Giuseppe. I'm looking at, okay, we capture the information. Do you have any APIs that we bring into, say, for HubSpot or any of our CRM that we can integrate with this? So when we capture something, for instance, on LinkedIn, how do you maintain your list so that you are following up and knowing exactly what actions you're putting into? And does Edugo.AI allow us to do that too? That's my question.
You want to take that one, Giuseppe?
Yeah, sure. So Mark, thank you so much for the question. Actually, I think there is a breakdown. First of all, like on the LinkedIn side, I think Sam is more qualified for sure than me to answer to that part, but I can tell you more on the Edugo side. We offer a HubSpot integration. So what it means is that when the student is actually like signing up and creating an account in the platform, what we're doing is sending this data to HubSpot, and therefore like you're automatically creating the contact, and therefore then you can create automatic like email sequences or newsletter to be actually connected with this specific target. Moreover, I know that HubSpot has a LinkedIn integration, so I don't want to go too much in the details on how HubSpot connects to LinkedIn because it's not my field of expertise, but there is also like ways that you can post automatic content from HubSpot to LinkedIn. But to answer to your question, I think one of the best ways to do it is like if you use Edugo together with LinkedIn, then you are automatically bridging this contact to your HubSpot or any other CRM.
That's surprising and fantastic. I'm glad you guys have that in place. Good.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we use HubSpot as well. So.
Yeah. There are lots of integrations across, like it integrates really well with Dynamics and Salesforce and things like that. So if you and your company are using something like Sales Navigator, there are lots of ways to get data across from Sales Navigator, for example, which is the paid version of LinkedIn. Less so on the free version, but certainly if you're using Sales Navigator, there are a lot of ways to integrate the data and move everything across.
And actually, Sam, that was bringing my other question, and I don't want to hog all the questions here, but my other question had to do with what level of membership on LinkedIn do you recommend?
So everything that I shared today can be done on the free version. However, if you have a school that is proactively focused on business development, if you have a sales team, if you are like heavily growing the school and prospecting and outreach is high on your agenda, then Sales Navigator is a phenomenal tool to be using for something like that. It makes prospecting very time efficient. You get a lot more very targeted filters to find the right types of customers. But I don't ever recommend going to something like Sales Navigator unless you're going to get properly trained on how to use it. So it's like the Formula One Ferrari of like sales tools. But a lot of people don't understand how to use it properly. So, but it's phenomenal.
Great. Thank you. That's all I needed to know.
Don't pay for premium, like premium's rubbish. Either free or Sales Navigator.
Okay.
Sam, I have one last question, just to balance a little bit. Before it was more focused for schools. Now maybe I want to focus more a little bit on a single teacher or single language business owners, in this case, teachers. Can you talk a little bit, you mentioned creator mode and how single teachers who maybe don't have other people working together should leverage that feature? Thank you.
Thanks, Giorgio. Yeah, so creator mode is quite a new feature on LinkedIn. You can switch creator mode on and off directly from your profile in the dashboard area. And there are a few advantages to having creator mode, such as you getting access to a lot of different features that LinkedIn is rolling out. So newsletters and things like that, LinkedIn Live. But LinkedIn has recently rolled out some new analytics as well to give you much more depth and of insight onto your content, and is your content hitting the right people? So again, you have to be on creator mode for that to be rolled out to you. So the analytics now on LinkedIn have really come up a notch. So I would recommend, whether you're an individual or whether you're a larger school, that if you are creating content, that you are in creator mode. It will change things on your profile slightly as well. So the order of your profile will change. So your content and your featured section will sit above your about section if you are in creator mode, for example. You'll also move to what's called follow only mode. So if you're sick of constantly getting lots of sales pitches in your inbox, you might want to switch to creator mode, because follow only prevents a lot of people then actually being able to connect with you like that as well. They'll still be able to connect with you, but it's harder for the people that don't know how to do that. So creator mode is, I believe, is quite a nice little feature. You'll also be able to choose 5 hashtags that you regularly speak about. So if you have English language or medical, medical English or whatever it is that your school is focused on, then you can choose 5 hashtags. And I would recommend using those hashtags in your content as well, so that you increase the eyeballs on your content.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam, for this. So I'm looking like in the chat to see if there are further questions. Okay, I see one raised hand, so please.
Hi, yes. Hello, Sam, and hi, everyone. Thank you for the webinar. I was actually a bit late because of the time difference. I got it mixed up. I had a question. So I realized that you're mostly talking about language schools, and I have started my own business. I don't have a website yet, but I've been working on my own business for the past 2 years. I do have a course. I'm currently on Instagram. I'm more active there. I post content, I try to post at least 4 times a week. But my question is that on Instagram, I post to attract my target, my niche, but I post videos for language learners. So I'm wondering, on LinkedIn, am I supposed to see content, or am I supposed for like I don't know, like a language school to see me? I'm kind of like confused. I thought LinkedIn is a place for like language schools, or somewhere like a manager, somewhere to see an employee, like to find an employee or a teacher to hire. Am I getting it wrong?
No, not at all. I think, I think LinkedIn has evolved over the last certainly over the last 3-4 years to be much more of a place where you can treat it like you would your other platforms. So it used to be a very heavy place for jobs and careers and things like that. But now, it is a business to business platform, and you could very easily apply the methods that you're using on Instagram and other channels to bring that content into the LinkedIn environment. you will find that majority of your target market is actually sitting on LinkedIn. So I think it would probably make sense if you are already creating a lot of content outside of LinkedIn to bring that into the LinkedIn environment as well, and start connecting and finding the people that you want to search for your school and for your business. Sorry, you can have your courses up on your LinkedIn profile. You can very easily start promoting what you're doing in the LinkedIn environment for sure.
That's so funny. Just if I may add a little bit of context. When we started this company, we started on Instagram first, but then we switched on LinkedIn 2018, 17, focusing on a specific niche, which were foreign expats learning Chinese in China. And we were leveraging LinkedIn because it was the only platform that we could have reached to them via DMs, creating content, and so on and so forth. So to add to Sam, again, you can find your niche in terms of students who are learning English. I don't know what's your niche exactly, to actually reach directly to them as a customer, as if you would do on Instagram.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And catch the beginning if you missed it as well. That will help.
I will definitely watch the recording. Thank you.
The recording will be uploaded in our YouTube channel. So if you want, you can subscribe and then you can get notified soon we will upload this recording. So the link is in the chat room.
Do you mind if I just say one more thing? Because people come onto webinars like this all the time to learn, and then they take loads of notes and then they get busy again. So I would like to know in the chat box what 1 or 2 things you're going to take action on off the back of today's webinar, and what you're going to commit to doing differently now that you have this extra knowledge. So that's one thing, if you don't mind, guys, I'm just going to ask everybody to put in their chat box. And I'm looking forward to following you all and seeing all of your progress on LinkedIn after this session. So let's have a look what everybody is going to be doing. Look at that, completely scrap my profile and rebuild it after reading a book. Great, thanks, Mark. Profile, good. 7 days technique for creating content. I like it, very good. We'll just give it a few seconds for everybody to type in their answers. Great, more continuity between colleagues' LinkedIn profiles. That's a good one, Stephen. Great. Really important, that one. Revamp profile, post consistently. Good. Mishek, when you say consistently, how many times a week are you going to go for? Post more often on LinkedIn, write a good caption with a good hook. I like it. Good. Fantastic. Once a week, nice, good. Coming from 0 once a week is where you need to start. Do that for a month. Once you've got your once a week done, then go to twice a week, and then go up to 3 times a week. But you've got this.
Oh man, I had one more question, not to hog I keep on hogging everything here. Okay.
Go on, Mark.
The question is multilingual. I mean, we're approaching different markets all over the world. So what languages, like, can we, like, does your program, can we put it in, for instance, you know, Chinese or whatever we're doing as far as the general prompts and stuff? Are you multilingual in that? I mean, that's kind of a dumb question, I guess.
I guess the question is for me. Yeah. So the platform right now supports 7 languages. We call it 7 target languages, which means, like, if your students wants to learn Chinese, Italian, English, French, Portuguese, Dutch, German. I think I'm missing one. And Spanish. But if you go in our website, you can see all the languages already supported. We are adding Arabic soon. Because I just moved to Dubai as well, and I want to learn Arabic, so it's more like a selfish need. And so, like, we support already all these languages, and so during the onboarding process, like, students can select which language they want to learn. So that's a little bit how the process works right now. Yeah, I don't know if we're supporting the languages that that your school is actually teaching right now.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And now for Sam, again, the other question is, with LinkedIn, multilingual, capabilities. We have teachers that are professors that can speak any pretty well language. So the question is there LinkedIn profiles that are completely, yeah, they are also.
Yeah, so you can choose to create your profile in multiple languages. So you can have your core profile, and then there is the ability to create your profile in multiple different languages. Yeah.
Okay,
and even when you're and then when you're posting, if you are posting in a non-English, like there's a translation feature in there as well. So if somebody is posting in a different language, you can see an English translation underneath automatically. Okay. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
What's interesting being in languages, Mark, is that you can actually leverage the knowledge of your teachers to post content for your students in that language that they want to learn or they don't, or they know, right? So if your teacher teaching Arabic and targeting students from Arabic countries who don't speak English, they can post content in Arabic on LinkedIn and so on and so forth.
Right.
That's great. So I think we can wrap up also because we went over well over 1 hour, which is, I think we break the record in terms of the longest webinar we ever done, which is great. It means I love the energy of this webinar. It was a lot of interaction, was a lot of knowledge shared. I learned a lot personally, so that's great. So, and if you want to contact with us or with Sam, please, I know many of you already connected with us on LinkedIn, but feel free to also DM me or Nicole or Giorgio, or anyone in the Edugo team. And we also would like to invite you in 2 weeks. We're going to host another webinar. This time will be about cohort-based learning, which means actually is a new feature we're building in Edugo. Is about how you can create groups and communities inside the platform, and how you can leverage actually peer-to-peer learning, and in order to increase the completion rate of the course. And so this is going to be the next topic of in 2 weeks. So I hope we can see you all there.
Exactly. So, well, thank you once again to all of you for the time. Thanks a lot, Sam, Giuseppe, and to all of you for being with us. And well, definitely looking forward to be connected with all of you on LinkedIn. And yeah, for anything else, just send us some DMs and enjoy your Friday. Have a nice Friday. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye.